And a fine Friday morning, January 5th. Welcome to the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. I am Steve Nudelberg. I am the founder of On the Ball and proud to be here. Good morning, Shay. Who are you? Who are you?
Good. All good.
Who are you, sir?
I'm Shay, and I'm the guy that makes shit happen.
He makes shit happen, and he does a great job of it. Excited that you'll be joining us on Sunday, as we go to the Miami Dolphins. What is essentially a playoff game, correct?
It's a playoff before the playoff.
Playoff before the playoff. So
a play-in before the playoff.
Perfect, man. So I'm super excited to have my friend and banking executive Howard Levine here today. God, we've been friends for 25 years. And I will tell you this ahead of time. The entire year of 2023, all of the lunches I had, the best lunch, I don't care who you are, was me and him by far. Not even close. High rank. Can't wait to do it again. It was just amazing. A couple of things before we get going. My New Year's resolution, the thing that I'm disciplining myself is I'm going to read more. I didn't get into books last year. I got away from books. So my book that I'm into right now is Arnold, Be Useful. And I'm just a couple of chapters in. My method is I am committed to read one chapter a day, which is fantastic. I love the opportunity to just do simple shit. You don't have to rewrite the world. And I'm in the first couple of chapters, and he comes up with the mirror is an essential tool to growing in life. And I love that, man. If you're looking in the mirror and you don't like what you see, and it's not congruent, clearly you have work to do. So thank you, Arnold. The book is Be Useful. We played his video in one of our huddles. He was amazing. And you can hear
he was feeding his donkey.
He was feeding his donkey. And he said his dad's number one lesson was be useful, and so that's the name of the book, and it's fantastic. And I'm digging it. One other piece of content before we jump into what will be an exciting interview. Lori, who does the huddle with us, Lori, who's my friend, my client, we talk about her stuff during our sessions, not about our stuff. She got together with Mark yesterday. Isolated. Shay showed me that. And Mark posted about it today. And his post was, here, he knows Lori. She's a friend. She's a colleague. She didn't really know where the company had grown to and what the new initiatives were, which are really driving a lot of our growth. So anyway, the question is, you need to talk to people and say, do you know what I do? Do you know what I do? One of the reasons I went to lunch with Howard was to figure out what he's doing. So without further ado, I'm excited to bring on. So let's wake it up. Then we'll go to his wake up, to his walk up music, which you will really get a kick out of. And then we will bring on Howard Levine. Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. We got, come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then now listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more about to thinking. Time for thinking ahead. Come on. That could be the best walk-up music yet. Good morning. Happy New Year to my friend, Howard Levine.
Good morning. Really happy to be here with you guys today.
So, you know the format of the show. It's basically bringing on other successful people to share who they are, what they do, how they've done it, the fact that it's not a straight line to
No,
success.
no.
So, Howard, share with the audience, who the hell are you?
So I'm Howard Levine, as Steve said. I'm what we call a senior executive vice president here at Amerant. I'm responsible for a good chunk of the bank, what we call our consumer bank. So I focus really on people, private banking opportunities, private wealth, our retail business, mortgage, just all the people side of the business. I have a colleague who handles all the corporate side, the corporate banking piece. So we run the bank together, and we try to just deliver a great client experience in a very commoditized space. So
I'm glad you said that. So 99% of the world is commoditized.
Correct.
You know, everybody, you're not trying to find like new people to bank them. I mean,
No, everybody banks.
everybody banks. So,
right.
so
So
sort of give us some insight into your career and how you got here, because you are an expert in this space and you've seen it banking boom and you've seen it not boom. So
yeah, I mean, I got into banking via mortgage. So my history is in the mortgage business. So I had my own mortgage companies, and then saw that banks never really understood what to do with mortgage. So then I started to do mortgage inside banks, and then I started to realize that, and largely because of my sort of sales discipline, banks lack sales discipline as a general rule. It's kind of
it's a good category for us.
you spent some time in that space, I know, Steve, but that's so I realized quickly, once I got inside the walls of a bank, that if you bring a fresh sort of commission based mentality to selling inside of a bank, that's a whole different sort of theory or strategy, because most bankers are not built that way. They get a large salary, they're very comfortable, very easy life for a banker, but we've tried to change that mentality and make them into salespeople. That's a challenge.
That's a challenge. So, having worked in the space myself for many, many years, have lots of friends. Amerant lands on the planet like from nowhere.
Right.
I heard the story. Can't wait for other people to hear like where it came from and how you are really making an impact on the business world.
So it's an interesting story. So Mercantile Bank from Venezuela decided close to 40 years ago that they needed a U.S. outpost for their depositors to put money outside of Venezuela. And it was great for a while, until the currency devalued in Venezuela and the banking regulations required them to spin off the U.S. business, which happened in 2019. And then Amerant was born. Amerant went public here in the U.S., so we're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and basically had to build a brand that no one ever heard of. So we were a 40-year-old startup at that point. So no one ever heard of us. We were sort of dropped out of an airplane into Miami. We have offices here and in Houston. So in both markets, nobody knew who we were. And for whatever reason, we decided to go with just the name Amerant and not use the word bank in a lot of our names. So you'd see the name Amerant on top of a building. Some people thought it was an insurance company. Some people thought it was whatever. They had no idea what we did. So we got a new CEO in 21, Jerry Plush, and he's a big sports guy. And he decided to get the name out and partner with some marquee sports brands to try to get the name recognition of the bank up and become more of a household name. There you go, in the market. So this year, we wound up we signed a naming rights deal with the Panthers. So we have now it's called Amerant Bank Arena. We have an official bank deal with the Miami Heat. We have an official bank deal with the Miami Hurricanes sports group, the hometown bank of their, football, baseball,
Mackey Firestein's here. He's happy.
So yeah, so we're out there, and that sort of, those sports partnerships have done a great service for us in creating awareness about A, that we're a bank, and B, that we're in this market. So that's that story.
So you referenced creating a better experience. So there are businesses that we work with that are, the opportunity comes from something happening. So it's not just, oh, I woke up this morning, I'm going to change banks, because changing banks as a career entrepreneur is a pain in the ass.
There's no question. So there's two reasons people change banks. One, they're pissed off at their old bank, or two, they want to borrow money. So in both cases, we have a strategy for both, right? So we, from a service perspective, a lot of banks spend a lot of time and money, and we do too, on technology, with the idea that it's going to make everything more efficient. But I think you lose some personal touch when you lean too much on technology. So especially within the context of our private banking group, the technology I kind of use behind the scenes. But it's still very personal, with the clients. And I think that's really what's resonated with the clients. Our executive team is very public, very out there. I mean, if you come to one of our sporting events, you'll often meet me, you'll meet Jerry, you'll meet Juan. So we're just out there, much more personal touch. And I think that's what people are really responding favorably to with respect to Amerant. Because, as you say, banking is very commoditized.
Yeah.
Our money's no greener. We're a bank. So it's just, but we try to just do it better. I mean, if that makes sense.
Well, for me as a consumer watching this happen, you and I have been friends for 25 years, and we'll talk about how we've stayed together and all that kind of stuff. But you invited me to the suite just before Thanksgiving, and
Right.
you said it might be cool for you to meet our CEO. So in my mind, I had an idea. I'm going to meet the CEO of a bank. And I met Jerry, and Jerry does not act like the CEO
No.
of a bank.
He's our CEO and our chairman. So he's got a big job here. And he's as down to earth.
So I walk in and he says, hey, nice to meet you, whatever, what can I get you? And I said, I'd love some ice water. And he went and got me the ice water.
That's Jerry. He treats that suite like it's his living room. The people that get invited there are, they get that one-on-one attention that he feels. We do a lot of business in that room. That room creates rapport, creates trust, creates all sorts of positive vibes that make people want to do business with us. So it's been very effective, and we have the similar situation at the Heat Stadium as well. So it's a very important tool, but it really is a non-threatening environment for us to have real meaningful conversation with clients and create that rapport.
So focusing on we're all about doing business. I mean,
Sure.
There's an obvious, sort of relationship that, hey, at some point it'd be nice to do business, but at no point, and Helen is here and she pointed out, you guys really made us feel like family. Never once did anybody talk about my banking. Not one
That's not
time.
that. We don't feel like that's the time and place for that. We'll get to that, certainly. But
I know.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get hit over the head, Steve. Don't worry, that's coming. So the point is, we feel like time and place is super important with that type of stuff. So we really try to wait till it's the right time. But we're all about growing our business. I mean, we're trying to grow. We grew about $1 billion in growth this year. We're looking for about $1.5 billion next year. So that doesn't come passively. I mean, we have to go out and get it. And so, we have to train our people to get it. We have to train our executives how to do it. And it's a grind. Which it is.
So, we've been talking about this since the beginning of the year, is that none of success comes without work. No. People don't see the work. They see the fun in the suite, but like you're busy often. I mean, you're out. Mark, my son, who we're so aligned. It's amazing. He asked some questions. It seems like you guys have a fun culture.
We do.
You do. I can testify to it. How do you cultivate that?
I think it comes from Jerry. I think that Jerry just believes that we work hard, but we really enjoy spending time with each other. And we kind of have, I don't know what your policy is, but a no a-hole policy. As
you can say asshole on this show.
Right. So I've held off on hiring some really high-powered salespeople because I just didn't think culturally they were a fit. And I will tell you that's the biggest challenge we have, is to sort of keep this cool culture that we have and grow at the same time. And when we've looked at acquisitions, we looked at other things, and always with an acquisition, it's always a merging of cultures. And we're just too nervous, like right now, to try to mess up what we have. This executive team loves to come to work every day. I haven't had that in my career, like where I sit in traffic on the Palmetto and just happy to sit in traffic to come to work. And that is something that, I have to give Jerry credit for putting this team together. but we generally trust each other. We like each other, and we have a really cool thing going on. And I hope we can ride it as long as possible without screwing it up. Because
I love it. I love it. So I could talk to you all day, but I want to get to questions that, I think the audience really wants to hear. So
sure.
from your vantage point, what are the biggest changes in banking? I mean, so every industry has gone through revolution, upheaval, disruption. What in your mind is the biggest changes?
So the biggest change is like I alluded to it earlier, is sort of weaving new technology into the standard banking model, right? So every time we get a vendor come to us about AI, about now the whole thing is that the AI is supposed to look at like you, Steve, if you were a customer, we'd run a software that would say, what is the next best product for Steve? Is it a home equity line of credit? Is it a credit card?
Oh, wow. I
So
didn't even know that. Wow.
so there are things that we can look at, sort of empirical data about you and the accounts you have and your credit score and all this stuff, and the computer's going to say, hey, when you get Steve on the phone next time, talk to him about a HELOC or talk to him about this or whatever. And so those type of, integrating that type of intelligence that we're getting from AI into this very intimate banking relationship is a balance, because I don't want you to be like, what do you mean? How did you know I need, like, how are you looking into my life? What are you looking at? Like, it's very invasive. So I don't want people to feel like we're kind of looking under the covers when we are. And so it's, how do I sell that in a way that feels like I'm being your friend and I'm not invading your privacy? So I think that's a challenge that we deal with right now.
So what's interesting is, like, I don't view the banking world as personal, even the accounts I have
But
now.
that's exactly where we win.
I know. That's why I'm so intrigued, because of all of the business I've done in my career, and I'm not the wealthiest guy on the planet, but I have achieved some success.
You've done well, sure.
None of it is personal. If it wasn't for Sam Zampi, I don't have anybody looking out for me. So
well, but you've hit the nail on the head. So most people, like, for example, if you're a high earner, let's say you're a partner at Greenberg Traurig, right? You make millions of dollars, but it's all W-2. It gets auto deposited into your account every week. You probably don't even know who your banker is. You don't need a banker, right?
Exactly.
So in that relationship that person has is probably the still at the bank that they opened when they were in college. It's just this auto, whatever. Where we're trying to take people out of that mold is to say, but you need a banker. You need somebody looking. You need somebody to make sure, hey, Steve, have you thought about this? Have you considered that? Do you have the right, even we get into like estate planning and trust. We have a whole trust department. So we sit down and try to look at the client and, what are the generational impacts of your money? Do you have the right, all these planning tools in place, which is a conversation that a lot of banks just don't have anymore.
They don't have. It's a remarkable, and you and I are definitely going to do business. We've talked about it, and I'm excited about it. But in my year-end planning, I decided to move money out of one bank, and we walked in, closed the account, and left, and nobody said a fucking word. And it was like, it was like out of body. Like I said to Shay, I go, we just left. You would think that there would be buzzes and horns going off, like,
So I can tell you that if you did that here, you somebody from behind the counter would come out and say, "Hey, Steve, what's going on? Where are you going?
Why would you do that after 10 years?"
But I can tell you that in general, the bar is very low. When I hire a banker, I tell them, look, if you answer a phone call or return an email, you're already in the top 10% of bankers in Miami. So it's it's amazing how, we've all become accustomed to very poor service. And just chalk it up to whatever, but it's not whatever. Like, so for us, for me and the way I train my teams, it's being super responsive. We have a policy where nobody leaves when there's an unanswered email. We just don't, you have to stay late, you stay late. It's fine. But, we really try to deliver the service that people would expect inside the context of a private bank. If you're a private banking client, that means you've achieved a certain amount of wealth, and you should have, you shouldn't have to wait for a phone call. You shouldn't have to pay a fee. You shouldn't have to. So those are, it's just common sense. I think, you asked me earlier about what's been successful for me, being a common sense focused banker, and sort of treating clients like I would want to be treated. Like I'm like you, I'm not a rich man, but I have a couple of bucks and I'd like to be treated well too. And the point is, I sort of build a bank that I'd be happy to bank with. So that's the
wow. That's, we call them noodle nuggets. That one's a banger. Like, just do how you want to be treated. Awesome. Jay Katari, who is kicked off last year's Huddler in the hot seat. He asked, what is the bank's sweet spot when it comes to client net worth?
So Jay, for us, the way we've constructed our sort of strategic plan is we're going after first generation wealth. So if you're a trust fund baby and you're not our client, you don't appreciate what we do, you don't appreciate our brand of banking, you don't appreciate sort of our sports partnerships, you don't appreciate it. But if you're someone who's made money based upon your own talent or being in the right place at the right time or whatever, so to get in the private bank, our entry point is $500,000, but it's really just more the profile of that client. That first generation, I have a list on my board, which you can't see on the other side of my office, I have 15 clients that are under 50 that have 9-figure statements. Wow. All self-made. Okay. Wow. And like that, and they're banking here. And I'm like, sometimes like, what the hell are they doing here? Like they should be at Goldman, but they don't want Goldman. They're not looking for that. They're not looking for the GPM. They want someone who is going to interact with them on a regular basis. They want to be a big fish here, because here they are treated like they want to be treated. Let's say that.
Well, so that's interesting. Me getting invited to the suite, I was around some of those people when they were talking about stuff where I went like, whoo, like they didn't tell me they were wealthy. They didn't have to. It was like,
yeah, we I travel. I always tell my wife, I'm like, I travel in social circles that I don't belong in. These people are, way more successful, than when we live with. But I mean, we're talking about constantly, financing my private plane, my boat, and all this, and I'm smiling, going, yeah, that's normal. I mean, everybody has a 150-foot yacht. I mean, why not? So it's that's the world we live in. So we don't have a target. I mean, so really that's what we've built. We continue to look for, like, we like law firms and we like first generation wealth. Those are sort of, we have a 2-pronged strategic plan for those two, and for different reasons they provide a lot of value to the bank.
So I love that, because as a career guy that's in sales, you got to know who your target is.
Correct.
And you got to know who they're not. I mean, we preach to people, like, if you go hunting and you don't know what the animal looks like, it's going to pass right in front of you. When you were telling me about the bank, I saw myself as a client.
You are. You're perfect. You're a perfect profile.
Perfect.
You built your business. You built your success.
Right. I don't want a robot doing my shit. No. I'm not that digital, so you do that. So I'm going to switch gears here. So you're building this staff. You've created some kind of filter on how you hire people. We're thrilled to have the opportunity to start working with you, but give me your basis or your vantage point on training and development and how important that is.
So I believe very deeply in training and development. A lot of banks don't want to invest in their people because they're like, I just train them and then they leave. Well, okay, so what? So that's a risk that we're going to have to take. So in my view, you'll meet the team. Most of the people who we hire have at least 15 years in the business, and they sort of understand, they get it from the perspective of the service model. And so for me, that's the number one entry point. They have to understand what we're trying to deliver from a service perspective. And then a lot of them are lacking a lot in the sales tactics, which is why I work with professionals like you and others to try to come in and get them to be salespeople on top of being good service providers, because a lot of them lead with service, and that is a differentiator. But I need them to work a disciplined process each week, time blocking, doing all the things that a professional salesperson does, but in the context of banking. So we look for people that have the understanding, the panache, the polish to be in front of a client, who speak well, look well, and then we'll teach the sales side. That's really what I'm
love it. Great response. Mark asked, do you deal with a lot of foreign money in Miami?
Oh yeah.
I guess that's got to be like
yeah. So remember, the DNA of this bank is Venezuelan, right? So we have probably close, this is public information, probably $2.5 billion of deposits from Venezuelan, and we probably have another $2 billion or so that we manage for Venezuelan. So it's a big chunk of our business. So we're staffed up for it. We have all the oversight and regulatory controls in place to make sure that that population of deposits is safe and sound. But most of our clients are, we get, most of our people speak Spanish, I guess I was trying to say. So like, I think 80% of our staff here has Spanish descent, Spanish language. So we're
And that'll
geared up for
change
that.
a little bit as you open the office in Broward. And
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Broward is a lot less Spanish speaking than Miami-Dade, but still has a lot of Spanish. I mean, we do a lot of business in Weston, and in Pembroke Pines and Miramar, a lot of Spanish spoken out there. We, our branch in Weston, is very Latino.
So I'll close with this. So I really appreciate your time. You're an amazing guest. I knew you would be. So real and genuine. It's super fun. So you and I have a relationship for 25 plus years. We met in boot camp in Weston. And that whole group of people were amazing. The question I want, is that I never pitched you. You never pitched me. We stayed friends first. And then when the opportunity was right to do business, it took care of itself. Now, I tell people in sales, you got to be patient, man. Sometimes it's a timing thing. It's not it's not now.
Yeah, look, I think it's I try to be opportunistic. Timing is whatever, timing is, I'm old, and and I'm going to continue doing this for some time.
You're old. So, if you're old, what does that make me?
I don't know, but I feel old. So the point is, I've been doing this for a long time, and I love what I do, and I love the people part. So I think that as you age and as you get wiser, you sort of know when it's your time to pounce, and know when it's your time to just hang out. And I think that comes. I don't know how you teach that. But I think that there's a little bit of nuance to knowing that timing. So I
think it is teachable. I think it is.
Well, good. You can teach my team how to do it.
Exactly. I think if you do the right daily habits, it's a combination of staying in touch, staying relevant, being in people's world. And when the opportunity comes, and then look, I'll close with this. We decided to have dinner before the end of the year. We pulled 5 people together. That was the most random, organic group of entrepreneurs. And it was the best. It was like, I kept telling Helen, I go, I just can't even describe how much fun it was.
And it was super organic. I mean, I knew all those guys, like I've known you for years, but hadn't seen them, hadn't really kept touch with them. But the dinner was amazing, free flowing, and nobody talked business. I didn't pitch anybody. You didn't pitch anybody. Eddie wasn't selling jewelry. Like it was, nothing happened at that dinner. So it was just a couple of guys.
I think the best thing that happened is we're going to Queen.
Exactly right. So that's another client. So
right. So like you just said, I have a client in Miami Beach. Let's do it. And all of a sudden we have this quarterly dinner. So it does happen organically. That's
for sure.
And you hit on it. There was no selling going on, but there was bonding going on.
But rapport building is the most important thing.
Right. That rapport is going to lead to, like, I'm going to introduce you to my world because I really love what you're doing. And I think you are the unicorn. I think you guys are that bank that listen, I can tell you from experience, Mehdi Gomeshi years ago opened up Great Florida Bank.
Florida, yeah.
Right. They got me. I invested. I brought a bunch of the Dolphin guys.
That was a big boot camp investment. There's a lot of guys in boot camp.
That's exactly right. And you know what? Their promise was they were going to work my network. As an investor, they were going to come back to me and work my network. Never heard from them again.
Surprise.
Howard, what a treat. What a great way to kick off the new year. How do people get in touch with you if they're interested in talking about banking and all the services? I know Michelle asked a question. I think somebody asked a question about what the difference is from a financial planner. There you go. It was Melissa. Yeah.
So financial, we offer that too in the bank. So we have a broker dealer and a registered investment advisory. So a lot of times that has to do with how you're investing your money. So I look at a private banker as the quarterback, right? So they're the person that's going to meet with you and get a sense of where you're going and what you need. And then they'll bring in their subject matter experts. Maybe it's a mortgage person, maybe it's a financial planner, maybe it's a trust officer, maybe it's whatever. So, but the quarterback, the one who's going to own that relationship with you and make sure you're taken care of I kind of look like as a butler with financial background, right? So someone who's just going to make sure you need something, you need tickets, you want a dinner reservation. Like that's what that person is, who can provide you some advice, but also is just there to help you and be by your side.
There's Eddie. Too, Eddie. Can't wait for our next dinner.
Me too, Eddie. So
especially the fact that you're paying, man. It's
right, yeah, of course. It's always the best. So really, Eddie took care of the last one, so this one's my turn.
And it's coming around. It's one of those.
For sure.
I can't wait
for the
to
time,
see.
Steve. I appreciate
you were amazing.
Today. So
stay on the ball.
I'm gonna do your clap. You like the clap, so I'm gonna clap out. So. All right, guys. Thank you all.
Okay.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business.